Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dad Whisperer. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Watson, and I'm so happy that you're here again today because this is the place where you as dads get equipped with more practical resources to engage your daughter's hearts. And if you're like a lot of the men I've talked with, they say, Dr. Michelle, did you know this is also helping me relate better to my wife and all of the women in my life? And I say, rock on, keep it up, dads. Keep putting into action the things that you're learning here. Well, before we delve into our topic today, here's the template that guides the conversation each week. On your mark, get set, go. So dads, envision yourselves standing side by side each other, getting ready to run your fathering race this week. As you're standing there, hearing me as your coach say, on your mark, get set, go. On your mark is the topic or the theme. Get set is filling that theme in with stories, with statistics, and things that make it make sense. And go is always your action step where you can put your love for your daughters and your sons into action. And if you joined me last week, you heard part one of a two-part series with my friend and guest coach, Marc Schelske. And last week, the title of the show was The Impact of Gender on the Messages We Receive About Emotions. So if you didn't have a chance to hear it, you can listen again at my website, drmichellewatson.com, or on iTunes at The Dad Whisperer. And Marc is one of those men who, honestly, I'm saying this not just to kiss up to him, but he has more wisdom and insight in his little pinky finger than most of us have in our entire bodies. I'm serious. So it's awesome that he's here again today. And just so you know a little bit about him before we start our conversation, Marc is married. He's a dad to a daughter and a son. He's a teaching elder at Bridge City Community Church in Milwaukee, Oregon, where he has served for 22 years. He's also the author of 2 books, Discovering Your Authentic Core Values, and one of my personal favorites, The Wisdom of Your Heart, Discovering the God-Given Purpose and Power of Your Emotions. And I have great news for you. That book, The Wisdom of Your Heart, is now available on Audible, so you can get it on Amazon. It's awesome. I would highly recommend that you read it. He's also the host of a bi-monthly podcast called The Apprenticeship Way, and he writes about intentional spiritual growth at his website, Marc Schelske. Welcome back again, Marc Schelske. It's great to have you here.
I am so glad to be back here again with you, Michelle.
Well, let's make it practical. How about you spell out how your name is pronounced? Because people will not find you very easy.
All right, so the website is www.marc, M-A-R-C, Alan, A-L-A-N, Schelske, S-C-H-E-L-S-K-E.
There you go, .com. Well, on your mark today, we've titled this interview, 5 Steps to Diffusing Emotional Blow-Ups with Your Daughter. Okay, Marc, I have no doubt this is going to be one of the most popular radio programs that I've ever done because every dad that I talk with says, I need to know how to defuse the emotional intensity with my daughter. And we're going to unpack that today. Well, you know I'm a big fan of tools for a fathering toolbox.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that I love your book, The Wisdom of Your Heart, so much. And not only did you give us solid teaching about the nature of emotions in your book and even here, but you've also given practical tools for the toolbox, right, for fathers that can help all of us understand our emotions better. So today we're going to take one of those tools and apply it directly to a dad's relationship with his daughter, right?
That's what we're going to do.
That's where we're headed. Tell us more.
That's right. So the book, The Wisdom of Your Heart, ends with a 5-step process that's meant to help you sort through an emotional experience so you can understand what's underneath it, what's really going on, and find the wisdom there. In the book, I recommend this as a journaling process, so you have time to kind of sit down and reflect. But if you understand the principles and practice it, it's something you can do on the fly when you're in the middle of an emotional experience while it's happening.
Oh, I love how you say that if you do this work on the front end when you're not triggered, then when you're in the emotional intensity place, and in that dynamic with your daughter, it will be more automatic.
That's right.
Right, for a dad to get this. Well, Marc, how about if I give you a scenario? I'm going to make you the expert today, and I would love to hear what you have to say about it.
All right.
Does that sound good? Okay, well, let's say that a dad is having a conversation with, let's say, a 13-year-old daughter. Your daughter's almost 13.
Almost one of those, yes.
So the emotional energy in the room, let's say it's building fast.
Yeah.
But for both of them, right? Dad's intensity is going up as his daughter's intensity is going up and vice versa.
Yeah.
So this dad knows that this is the exact kind of situation that has resulted in big fights between them in the past. So he knows that he'd better walk away or things could get ugly. What would you say to that dad?
All right, so here we're going to apply this process and walk through what he could do in the moment to kind of diffuse and get to the bottom of what's happening. right? So the process is called the 5 A's. It's 5 steps. Each one starts with a word that begins with A.
Okay.
And the process mirrors the natural process of how your emotions develop in your heart and your mind and your body. But by understanding the process and walking through the steps, you can kind of slow down your reaction and find what's really happening. Maybe get to some wisdom.
Okay, I know that every dad is listening right now. They're like, tell me what to do to fix it. So where does a dad start?
All right,
How does he put this into action?
The first step is attend.
Attend.
Right. That's an old word. It simply means pay attention. So in the moment when the energy is ramping, don't jump to conclusions. Don't react or yell. All those big feelings get overwhelming. And what happens is we want to just do something to stop the discomfort, to just clamp down and stop it. And because we're caught up trying to manage our kids' emotions, we rarely pay close attention to what we're feeling, what we're feeling. We're trying to manage our kids, and we're not thinking about the fact that our reaction as a parent is either going to stoke the fire of this conflict or it's going to create space where maybe there could be healing and understanding. And that's up to us as the parent, right? So the dad starts by attending, which means he's going to pay attention specifically to what is happening in his own body.
Come
Right?
on now.
So the dad needs to ask
Okay.
this question. What is the physiological state of my body right now? And I know that doesn't sound like it has to do with emotions, but it does. What's my posture like? Am I feeling tension or stress in my shoulders? Is my gut clenching? Do I feel hot or do I feel cold? How does my body feel in this moment? See, what most people don't realize is that emotional reactions are experienced in the body long before our conscious mind becomes aware of what's happening. So for me, for example, I always feel conflict in my gut. And so if I'm heading into a bad conversation or I'm in a conversation that's kind of going off the rails, my stomach tightens up and it gets all churny. And I used to think that was because I needed some antacid or I'd eaten some bad food. But after a bunch of therapy, I realized my body was telling me, oh, it's about to get hard in here. Pay attention.
Pay attention.
And so if we pay attention to our body, we get a little bit of an advanced notice of what's happening for us.
That is so good. Okay, so the first A is attend. So you're saying attend to what's going on in your body. But now that, brings up the question. You good with another question?
Yep.
How is that going to then shift the conversation between a dad and his daughter?
Okay, so it depends on what the dad notices, right? What is he feeling in his body? Or his fist clenching? Is he starting to kind of loom up over his daughter? Well, that's a good sign. He's starting to feel defensive and maybe angry and maybe feeling the need to reestablish control. Or maybe his heart's starting to pound and he's feeling a clenching in his gut. That's a good sign. Maybe he's starting to feel anxious or worried about where this conversation is going to go. And so now he can recognize that and not allow that to feed fuel to the fire. When you notice these cues, you get an advanced notice of what's happening. And more importantly, you can slow down your own reaction because maybe you can't change your feelings, but you can change your body state. So you can change the direction of the conversation by altering your body.
And even if I could add to that, altering your body may mean removing yourself from the situation until you've calmed down.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Okay.
That might be what you need to do. But just changing your posture, right? If you've taken as a dad, if you step into a power position, right, where you're going to not brook any argument and you're standing up and you're looming over and you're clenching your fists, your body posture is telegraphing that to your daughter, and your daughter's going to go into resistance.
Exactly.
She's going to resist you. So just short circuit that. Release your clenched fists. Slow down your breathing. Level yourself out so your eyes are on the same level as hers rather than looking down at her. If you change your posture like that, first it's going to subtly shift your own emotions because now you're paying attention to what's happening. Things are going to slow down inside of you. But it will also telegraph to your daughter that you're in a listening place and she's not going to be triggered into resistance.
So good. Okay, so what's the second step? If a dad wants to diffuse emotional blow-ups with his daughters, what would you say to do next?
All right, the next thing the dad has to do is articulate.
Okay, there's the second A.
Second A. So this is where the dad's going to put a name on what is happening in his body, right? He's noticed his fists are clenching. He's noticed his heart is pounding. What does that feel like emotionally? Being able to name that feeling is the first step of being able to evaluate what's going on so that we don't lash out or just try to compress things down so we don't feel irritated or make the discomfort go away, right? This is where a dad doing some learning ahead of time about his emotions can really help because every emotion has a core meaning to it. And that meaning comes with motive energy. What I mean by motive energy is energy that's trying to get you to take action.
Okay.
Every emotion wants you to take action in a certain way. And so if a dad can understand what he's feeling and put a name to that emotion, then he can decide, do I want to act in this way? Do I want to just react? Or do I want to make a choice that's going to be more life-giving and open up a space for communication and resolving this rather than just pulling the nuclear option?
Mm-hmm. Obviously, this is easier said than done.
It is.
Because
it takes
I think,
practice.
Right, when we're in an emotional triggered state, I always say if it's an 8, 9, or 10 on a scale of 0 to 10, it's usually our own old stuff.
Right.
Right? The
Right.
current thing flips that switch on. So can you just make this now a bit more practical by giving some examples of what it would look like if a dad wanted to articulate
Sure.
what was going on inside of him?
Okay, so let's talk about probably the biggest one that dads experience in conflict with kids, and that's anger.
Right.
So the core meaning of anger is this. Anger is the emotion we feel when we believe we are being violated or obstructed. So anger just arises naturally. It just happens in us to let us know that something's in our way or something's attacking us or our will is being obstructed or us or something we love, right? That's the core meaning. But take note, this is very important. Our emotional responses are rooted in our perception of things, not in how they objectively are. So it's possible that we can feel angry because we believe we've been violated or disrespected when that's not really what happened at all, right? Now, we'll get more into that in a minute. But for right now, at the articulate step, it's enough for a dad to just say, hey, I'm feeling angry.
Got
Right?
it.
Now,
Got
if the dad's going to articulate that, now he has a new opportunity. He has a new opportunity to evaluate what's happening. So, dad might be feeling this rush of negative emotion. If he doesn't stop to name what he's feeling, he's going to either react, probably in anger, or he might, depending on his wiring, he might withdraw, right? Some people are just
Exactly.
like, I don't want to deal with this.
Right.
I'm going to
That's
back
what your
out.
dad did.
Right. Right. So those are the two quickest ways to diffuse the tension, right? I'm going to power up so that they stop doing what they're doing, or I'm going to withdraw. And that makes the discomfort go away, but that doesn't solve the problem and it doesn't help the relationship.
Exactly. So what does a dad do then? Okay, so he's checked in with his body. He's changed his posture to be more open. He's, opened his clenched fists.
Right,
He's slowed
right.
down his breathing. He's named the feelings.
Yeah.
Like, I'm angry right now.
Okay.
Then what?
Okay, so this is where the dad needs to check in with that meaning we talked about, that core meaning, right? So it's easy for me to think, for example, so here's a scenario. I'm really angry at my daughter because she used her iPad without permission again, and she needs to be taught a lesson so this doesn't happen anymore. But that's not usually the whole emotional story. What's really happening, if I take just a little moment to think about what I'm feeling, is that I can notice different emotional threads underneath that anger. So maybe I'm feeling sad that my daughter broke my trust. Maybe I'm feeling a little bit worried that my daughter is kind of becoming sneaky, and I don't like that. And I'm a little bit afraid that maybe if she doesn't change course, her life is going to get hard and complicated. And maybe I'm a little bit anxious that I have to be the one to confront her because I don't like confrontation and I already told her not to do this. And maybe I'm feeling a little insecure because I'm not sure what the right answer is and I want to be a good dad. And so all that tangled web is underneath the anger.
But it's all coming out the anger funnel.
Right. It's coming out the anger funnel. And so because all of that's uncomfortable and I want to just avoid discomfort, it's very easy for dad to take this out on his daughter just to get the situation to end, just so that everything can feel okay again.
And then you know what the daughter feels? Because this is the ones that I hear. These are the things I hear from daughters is, my dad doesn't care. He didn't listen to the whole story.
Right.
He doesn't love me because all he does is want to shape my behavior rather than hearing about my feelings or fears.
Right.
Okay, so Mark, if a dad wants to not just react or overreact, what does he need to do next in order for that to happen?
That's the next A, ask. He needs to check in with why he's feeling what he's feeling by looking at that core meaning of the emotion that we talked about, like the core meaning of anger is that I'm being violated or attacked. And he needs to ask, how does this apply to this situation?
And he's asking himself?
He's asking himself. This is
Okay.
internal, right?
Internal.
And so here's the example with our iPad situation. So dad says, all right, I'm feeling angry. Core meaning. Anger is the emotion you feel when you've been violated. Okay, so in this situation, am I really being violated? Well, let's see. Well, my daughter's using her iPad without my permission, but is that really a threat to me? No, I'm not being attacked by that. So why do I feel angry? What's being violated? Well, maybe the family rules have been broken. Okay, yeah, that's true. Maybe there need to be consequences for that, but that's not a personal attack on me. That's
Mm-hmm.
something that kids do. So why am I feeling violated? Well, she disobeyed me again, and that's really frustrating. Okay, yeah, but that's something kids do. They disobey, they disrespect. It's not a personal attack. So why am I feeling so angry?
Right. That's what a dad has to ask himself. Why am I being so angry?
Right. So digging deeper, maybe I'm angry because my daughter being untrustworthy is threatening our relationship. And since I love her and I love our relationship, I'm feeling angry that that relationship is being threatened.
Ah, okay. So if that's the root of the anger, it's about the relationship, how can a dad now engage in a compassionate way, right? Rather than just lashing out, because he doesn't want to do that.
Right.
What does he do?
Right. So now by having come to this awareness, he can choose to not lash out. And now we're going to have a better conversation. Or it's possible that when dad digs down to the anger, he discovers that his anger isn't really about his daughter at all, right? So this has happened for me a lot, right? I'll get angry, and when I do this work, I'll discover that, the real problem is my daughter disobeying me felt disrespectful, and I carry this story that dads need to be treated with respect all the time, and if my kids aren't treating me with respect, maybe I'm failing as a dad. Right? And so now her disobedience feels like I'm failing. And so the anger is me being defensive.
Yes.
And that has nothing to do with my daughter at all.
Oh, my
It has nothing to
goodness.
do with her disobedience. It has to do with something I need to deal with in my own conversation, maybe with my wife, or maybe in my journal, or maybe with my therapist. But it doesn't have to do with solving this particular problem. So if I can get clear on that, I can set that aside now and not vent that out on my daughter in a way that doesn't have anything to do with her.
Oh, so good. Okay, so give us the fourth A. What's
All right.
the next one?
So the next one is assay.
Okay, spell that.
ASSAY.
Ooh, okay, that's
So
an old word.
It's another old word. Here's the mental picture, right? In the Old West, when prospectors came into town with the gold that they found out on their prospecting, they would take it to the assayer, and the assayer would test the gold to see if it was real, to see if it was pure. And what the assayer could do is the assayer could separate the real gold from the fool's gold. And that's what we're going to do right now, right? So in our story, Dad's feeling angry. And anger moves us to take action, and I'm moved to do something dramatic to stop that violation. So maybe an extreme example is I'm so angry I want to punch my fist through the wall, or maybe a more reasonable example is I'm so angry I want to take the iPad away forever and yell at my daughter about how irresponsible she is. Okay, here's the question. Are those expressions of anger gold? Are they going to bring about a valuable outcome? So in the story, when Dad realizes that his anger is about the trust being violated, now he can see, oh, that's gold. The iPad isn't the issue. That's fool's gold. The trust and the relationship is the issue. That's gold. And so now the dad can focus on what matters, and he can say, okay, sweetie, I'm really upset right now. I think you can see that. I'm feeling angry because I don't want our trust to be damaged. I love you. I want to trust you. I know you want to be trusted.
Yes.
And so when you go behind my back like this, it breaks that trust and that damages our relationship. And I'm a little angry about that.
Oh, that is, you talk about gold. That is golden. If every
Right.
dad only got that piece of the interview today, it would change the dynamic with his daughter to say, I care about our relationship, honey bun.
Yeah.
That's the part that's hurting my heart. And if he could even say, it isn't about the iPad.
Right.
It would take it away from the current conflict to the relationship, which, right, is another layer
Right.
deeper, and it would move the relationship forward. So if you're just joining us, I'm talking with my friend, Marc Schelske. The title today of our conversation is 5 Steps to Diffusing Emotional Blow-Ups with Your Daughter. Okay, so Marc, so far you've given us 4 A's: attend, articulate, ask, and assay. Okay, what's left? What's
right.
the 5th one?
So there's one left. I want you to notice something. In the little scenario we just talked about, I want you to notice that the anger is still there. We're not telling Dad to repress the anger. We're not telling Dad to pretend he's not angry. We're asking him to look for what's the fool's gold, that I need to be respected at all times and obeyed perfectly, or what's the real gold. The relationship is being broken and that matters to me, right?
Yes.
And so Dad can still be angry, but how is he going to express it? And that's where we get to the last A, which is apply. All emotions bring energy, and that energy moves you to take action. The question is, will you apply that energy in a way that's productive and healthy and life-giving, right?
Yes.
So in our scenario, Dad says maybe, hey, girl, we're both pretty angry right now. I'm clear in my mind that the most important thing right now is our relationship and our trust. And I think we're probably not going to build that by yelling at each other. Does that sound right to you? I don't feel like that's going to be helpful.
He checks in with her. Does
Right?
that sound right to you?
Okay. So, you know what I think we need to do is we need to go to our own corners for a few minutes. I feel the need to let my angry energy calm down so that I can hear you better. Maybe that's true for you too. I don't know. And then let's come back and sit down and talk. And we're not going to just talk about the iPad. We're going to talk about trust. Because I know I want to be able to trust you, and I know you want me to be able to trust you. So let's think about how we can talk about that, right?
Oh, that's so good.
Dad is articulating what he's feeling. He's identified what's the gold. He's taking action. Like that energy from the anger is being spent.
Yes.
Right? He's saying to his daughter, we need to follow up on this. We're not going to let it go. But he's doing it in a way that's focused on what matters, right? He's not backing off and avoiding it. He's not powering up to take control. He's pointing to the gold, right? What's most important isn't the iPad without permission. What's most important is the trust in the relationship. We're going to talk about that.
Oh, that is so good. We could keep talking, as we both know. We both love these kinds of conversations because I often tell my clients, the thing you think is the thing isn't the thing.
Right.
And that's what you're saying, is it's not the iPad. And if dads could understand that if they can just remember that one thing is, it's the relationship. It's the relationship. I would imagine most of the time when men respond in anger over being disrespected, really the deeper layer from what you're saying, Mark, is that it's the trust breach that's really hurting his heart.
Right.
So there's a sadness and a hurt there that gets expressed in anger. And if dads could put this into action, oh my goodness, I believe it would change relationships for the better across our nation.
Right.
Well, let's do our actions-oriented go step here at the end, which I love to have it be practical. So dads have clearly, from what you've been saying, gotten a lot of great information to put into action. But I would love if you could just give a quick recap and tell our listeners where they can go next if they want to go deeper into this area of diffusing emotional blow-ups with their daughters.
All right, so recapping the 5 A's, when you're in that emotional interaction, if you can walk through these steps in your mind, you can find the gold, right? So attend, notice what's happening in your body, articulate, name your experience, ask, consider the meaning, assay, weigh the value, that's where you're looking for the gold, and apply, act with intention. Now, that's a lot, and so I have a couple resources that will help you with that. I have a one-page PDF reference guide that includes the 5 A's, a basic emotions chart where it talks about the core meaning of each emotion, and steps that will walk you through this process. And I would like to just give that to you. I'm going to give you a link.
Fantastic.
I'm going to give you a link where you can find it and download it. It's at my website, www.marcalanschelske, marcalanschelske.com/emotools, EMOTOOLS.
Oh, thank you for providing that.
Yeah,
because
so
it is a lot to take in if you're wanting to rework this.
Right? So just go there. You can get this tool for free. You don't need to give me your email address or anything. It's just a download link. You can have it at marcalanschelske.com/emotools. And then, of course, if you want to go deeper and understand the principles behind this, then you should get my book, The Wisdom of Your Heart, Discovering the God-Given Purpose and Power of Your Emotions, right? It's available in all the formats, ebook, paperback, and now audiobook on Audible. Get that, and it will help you learn how to do the process that we just went through.
And I love the fact that you're a man, you're a dad, you're a husband that says, if I can do it, you can do it too.
We can get better at this.
We can get better at this. It's possible. Well, On Your Mark today has been 5 steps to diffusing emotional blow-ups with your daughter. You've heard from my friend Marc Alan Schelske today. So for your go step between today and next week, I encourage you to take his challenges to heart so that you can diffuse emotional blow-ups with your daughters, because I know that's what you want and that's what she wants. As always, you can go to my website at drmichellewatson.com and find free resources. You can sign up for my bi-monthly Dad Daughter Friday blogs. There's also a link to Amazon where you can find my book, Dad, Here's What I Really Need From You, a guide for connecting with your daughter's heart. You can also go to the Dad Whisper podcast on iTunes, where you can listen and share any of these last podcasts with your friends. Well, this wraps up another week's program. It's been fun to be here with you all today. I'm Dr. Michelle Watson, the Dad Whisperer, signing off and encouraging you to make today a day where you are intentionally and consistently investing in pursuing your daughter's hearts. Go Dads.